to new chapter, whereby we are going to focus on linear equation only. Okay, so let me share the screen on the linear equation chapter. Okay, so in order to have more understanding on the linear equation, at first I'd like to introduce about the Cartesian plan. This one is pronounced as Z sound, Cartesian plan. Okay, which involve the x and y axis. Later on, I'm going to introduce to you. Then later on, we are going to use the Cartesian plan to draw the linear graph on the Cartesian plan. Then also we are going to learn as well how to build a linear equation. Okay, how to build and how to plot the linear equation on the graph. And if we have two linear equations, how are we going to identify the intersection point between two linear equations? That means we want to solve the linear simultaneous equation graphically and also mathematically as well. Okay, and we are going to apply this simultaneous equation concept into the break-even analysis in the business scenario. Okay, so this overall section that we want to go through by this afternoon. Okay, so let us start. What is the meaning of this Cartesian plan? In fact, you already have some idea before. So Cartesian plan consists of the x and y axis. The x-axis is a horizontal line for you to jot down the number or scale. Okay, so x-axis is referred to the horizontal line of the Cartesian plan. Okay. Then how about the y-axis? Y-axis is the vertical line, okay, shown in the Cartesian plan as well. Okay. So this line is the y-axis. This line is the x-axis. And the intersection point between the y-axis and the x-axis is called as origin point. Okay, this point is called as origin point. You want to add, you can add origin point. This is the point whereby x and y-axis intersect. Okay, intersect. And at this point, the coordinate is 0, 0. Okay, 0, 0. So the coordinate is equal to 0. That means the x value is equal to 0, and the y value is also equal to 0 at this point. Okay, x is 0 and y also equal to 0. And the Cartesian plan is very useful for us to identify the coordinates of each point. Okay, coordinates for each point. Like for instance, origin point is one of the coordinates in the Cartesian plan. All right, so let us try one example. Example 1. Okay, okay. Assume that now we have 4 points: point A, point B, point C, and D. Okay, for point A, the coordinate is 1, 4. Okay, 1, 4. What is the meaning? That means x value is 1. The y value is 4. For point B, coordinate B, the x value is -3, and the y value is -2. Point C, the x value is 0, y value is -4. Point D, x value is 3, y value is 0. So let us try to jot down the 4 coordinates on the Cartesian plan. All right, so let's start with point A. 1, 4. Okay, so x is 1. So you go to here. Go to x-axis. Find 1. 1 is here. Okay, 4. 4 is when the y is 4. Y is 4 should be here, right? So the intersection point of x equal 1 and y equal to 4 is the coordinate of A, which is here. Okay, so you jot down a point here, and then you can name this as coordinate A or point A. Okay. So point B also the same, -3, -2. So that means both x and y values are negative number, Okay, so x is -3, so we go to this part, okay, this point, and then -2y is -2 is here. Okay, so go to the intersection point between these two, you get this part. Okay, so this is point B with the name of -3, -2. Okay, so point C is 0, 4. When x is 0, okay, and the y is -4, which is this point. D is when x is 3, y is 0. So when x is 3 is here, y is 0 should be. That means the point is on the x-axis when y is equal to 0. Okay, So I think you should be familiar with this Cartesian plan, right? You already learned this one in your maybe Form 3, yeah? Okay, all right. So now is how are we going to draw a straight line or a linear line in the this Cartesian graph then? Okay, what can we do is actually the linear line, that means it's a straight line, yeah? So in order to draw a straight line, you need at least 2 points. We need to find out at least 2 coordinates that are passed through by this linear line. Okay, we need to know, identify the 2 coordinates at first. Okay, we need to know the 2 coordinates at first. And the steps like to form the linear equation is like this. We have a standard format of the linear equation. Standard format. Okay, is called as y equals mx plus c. This is the standard format of linear equation. Okay, whereby the m here is referred to the gradient or slope of an equation. Okay, m is referred to the gradient or slope. So the greater the m value, so the higher the slope. So that means it's more slope. Okay. If flatter, that means the m is lower. Okay. If very sleepy, that means the m value is very high. Yeah. Okay. M is very high. If the line is flatter, okay, then the m is lower value. Okay. So m is indicate the slope or gradient of a line. How about C? C is the y-intercept point. That is the point whereby the linear line or the linear equation will pass through the y-axis. Okay? Will pass through the y-axis. So this is the C. So in this case here, okay, so let's check. Okay, so in this case C, okay, let's see there are 2 equations here. One is this blue line. Okay. Whereby the y equation is equal to negative x plus 5. So in this case, we may found that actually plus 5 is the C value, and it's the point whereby the blue line will pass through the y-axis. Okay, so when the y pass through this y-axis, this point is equivalent to 5. Okay, the y value is 5, and the C is also 5. Okay, at this point. For the right line, okay, the y equation is 1/2x plus 2, So we may find that the C value is 2. This is the point whereby the red line will pass through the y-axis. So at this point, when the red line pass through the y-axis, at this point, the y value and the C value is also equal to 2. Okay, 2 positive. Okay, so now is how to calculate the m value now, the slope. How to calculate the m value here? M value, we need at least 2 points in order to get the m values. 2 points. Okay, 2 coordinates, and okay, we need to have two points, which is x1, x2, and also y1, y2. All right. So the formula to calculate the m value is using y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2. So let's try to maybe use this formula to try to calculate the gradient for some of the equation. Before that, okay, let us also check. Okay, if the m value is greater than 0, so that means that the straight line is outward sloping, like this one. Okay, like this red line, the m value is positive 0.5. So you may find that the straight line is outward sloping. Okay, so that means when the x increase, the y also increase. Okay, if the m value is negative number, let's say this one, negative 1, that means the linear line will be downward sloping. That means when x increase, the y will reduce. Okay, so that means x and y have negative relationship. If the m is negative, that means x and y have negative relationship if the m value is negative number. Okay, so let us try one question. Okay, so let's say, okay, this is the line already drawn, and then there are a few coordinates already given to us, let's say, okay, but the name or the equation is not given. Okay, the equation of this straight line is not given, and you are asked to identify the equation of this straight line. Okay, so how to do so? The first step is you need to calculate the m value first, the gradient first, the first step. Okay, using this formula, y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2. Okay, so now you need at least 2 points. You can choose any points, any 2 points from these 5 points. You can choose any 2 points enough. Huh? Choose any 2 points among these 5 points. Okay, so let us maybe choose the first point to 5, and the second point is -2, -3. Let's say, okay. So in this case here, this is x1, huh? This is y1, this is x2, and this is y2. All right. All right. So let us try to use these 2 points to calculate the m value. All right, by using this formula. So y1 is referred to this number y1, right? y1. Okay, so we substitute y1 to here. Minus y2 is -3. Yeah. So okay, so you put brackets aside the -3, right? Then divided by the x1 is 2 minus -2. All right, this is the x2. Okay, then we simplify this equation. All right, so 5 minus -3 becomes 5 plus 3, so you'll get 8 positive. For the new denominator is 2 minus 2, you'll get 2 plus 2 becomes 4. So 8 divided by 4, you'll get 2 positive. That means the slope for this equation, for this line, the slope is 2 positive. Okay, it's 2 positive, the slope. The m value is 2. That's the meaning. Okay. So far so good, All right. All right. So M will already have the answer. All right. So C, how to get the C value? C is the point whereby the equation will pass through the y-axis. So in this case, at the y-axis, the C value actually is equal to 1. Okay, it passed through this point. So that means C is equal to 1. So we can conclude C is equal to 1. So once we already have the M and C, we can conclude that the linear equation, which is this red line, the whole red line, the name is called as y equals to
Sir, you are muted.
so that I can talk. Yeah. All right. So can you hear me now? Okay, Okay, let me share the screen again now. All right. So the first step is you need to calculate the m value first, m value, using this formula. All right. Then identify the c value. Okay. Once you have the m and c, you can conclude the name of the linear equation. Okay. So 2 is from here, purple color. 1 is the c. Okay. So far so good, Okay, All right, next. Okay, for these 2 questions, actually is asking you to identify the M and also C. Okay. The problem now is for these 2 equations, the format has not been arranged in the standard form. Okay. Standard form means you need to try to arrange in this form. Y equals M X plus C. Okay. So you need to arrange the format of the equation in this form, so that you can identify the M and C directly. Okay. So that means for this question, yes. Yeah, okay, all right. All right, so let us try this example, all right? So the original equation is 3x minus 4y equal to 12, all right? Equals to 12. So there are a few ways to, to form this equation. Maybe I'll use my own way, all right? I use my own way. For this one, okay. Because we want to make sure that the y is on the left-hand side. Okay, how can I do it? Because for this question now, you may find that the coefficient of y is -4, Okay, so if there's a case, there is one way to try to make it simple. That will be try to move 12 to the left-hand side and then 4y to the right, so that the 4y will become positive, all right. I try to make the coefficient of y becomes positive. Okay, so this is another way, in order to transpose the formula instead of using the example just now. right? So if there's a case, I'll move 12 to the left, huh? And then minus 4y to the right hand side, so that the coefficient of y is positive number. Okay, so if 12 move to left hand side becomes minus 12. If negative 4y move to right hand side becomes positive 4y. So far so good, huh? All right. Because usually we want to have the y variable on the left hand side, so what you do is you can do it in this way. Okay, you can try to rewrite this equation in the form that whereby the y will be on the left hand side and x is on the right hand side. Actually, the whole thing means 4y equals to 3x minus 12. Okay. Continue the same process. Okay, so next is we have to move the 4 to the left hand side so that y will be alone in order to form this pattern of equation. Okay, so that means I can add this. So I move to the 4 to the left hand side. So y is equal to 3x plus 12. This is minus 12. Okay. Divided by 4. Okay. Because we want to have the equation in this form, so that means we need to split this into two terms, all right? Into two terms. So y is equal to so on the right hand side, the first term is 3x over 4. 3x over 4. And then the second term is minus 12 over 4. Okay. So I do step by step. Do step by step. Okay, this one I erase all, So if you simplify this, so you may find that y is equal to 3 over 4x minus 3. We try to make sure that the equation is in this form. Okay, y equals mx plus c, so that we can get the m and c variable directly. So in this case here, the m is the coefficient of x, which is 3 over 4. Coefficient of x. And then the c value is the intercept, the y-intercept, which is minus 3. Okay, so if the coefficient of y original is negative, I'll try to make it positive. That will be easy for our job. Okay, so m and c already done based on this format of equation. Okay, part 2 also the same. All right, part 2 also the same. So let us analyze the equation now. So this is 5x equals 20 minus 8y. So you may find that the power value for the x is 1 only. Power value for y is also 1. The index value for x and y are 1. So that means this is the linear equation. Okay, because the power value for the unknown variable, which are x and y, all are 1 only, power 1. Okay, so now is we have 3 terms here, 1 term on the left, 2 terms on the right hand side. Okay, if that's the case, it's better for us to move minus 8y to the left hand side. Why? So that the coefficient of y, which is negative 8, will becomes positive 8. Okay, so it's better to move minus 8y to the left. And then 5x move to the right hand side becomes minus 5x. Okay, so that we can form this pattern of equation. Okay, then the next step is to move this 8. Okay, the coefficient of y, which is 8, move to the right hand side. Okay, move to the right hand side. And if you cannot see the whole picture, maybe you can add one step if you want. If you want, you can add one step. If you cannot see the whole picture now. Okay, so after this, you probably can add one step before you split this 8 for both terms. So it's up to you, right? You can decide. Okay, so this one means y equals negative 5x plus 20 divided by 8 positive. This 8, if moved to the right hand side, becomes divided by 8. Okay, it's from a numerator becomes a denominator, but the sign is still the same. It's still positive sign. All right. Then after you have done this part, you try to split this 8, share this 8 for both terms, for both houses on the right hand side. Okay. So here you'll get negative 1 over 8x, and then plus 20 over 8x. Okay. So simplify this. This term you can simplify. Can simplify, becomes 2.5. Also okay. Okay, 2.5. So that means for this equation, the m is negative 5 over 8, and the c value is equal to 2.5 or 5 over 2. Okay. Or 1 over 2 also okay. Any questions so far? All right. So for these two examples, showing you how to change the format of the equation so that you can identify the m and c value directly. Okay, so next is we are going to study how to plot the linear line on the graph paper, okay, or using the Cartesian plan, or we call it graph paper, okay, to draw. Okay, so let us try to check one example here. Okay, there are two examples now. One is, okay, the example A is the equation name is called as y equals 2x minus 5. Okay, y equals 2x minus 5. You may find that the power value for the x is 1. Power value for the y is also 1. So that means this is a linear equation. Okay, it's a linear. Linear means this is a straight line. If you draw on the graph, it's a straight line. Okay, so if you want to draw this equation line on the graph paper, then you need to have at least 2 points. Okay, at least 2 points in order to draw this linear equation line. Okay, so how to identify the point? This one usually I set this as the 0,0 method. That is, we try to identify the y value when the x is equal to 0. Okay, so we choose this point. Okay, when x is 0, then what is the y value? If x is equal to 0, that means y is equal to 2 multiplied 0 minus 5, right? So simplify this, you may find that y is equal to negative 5. So this can be one of the coordinates for us to jot down on the graph later on. Okay, so it's like this. This one, maybe I can move a little to here. Okay, so one of the possible points that are passed through by this line, the coordinate is called as 0, negative 5. Okay, when x is 0, y is negative 5. So this is one of the coordinates that we can use. Okay, when we want to draw this straight line. Okay, how about second point? For second point is we'll make the y is equal to 0. Okay, let the y equal to 0. So if the y equal to 0, so that means on the left hand side will be equal to 0, right? So that means 2x minus 5 is equal to 0. Okay? 2x minus 5 is equal to 0 when y is equal to 0. Okay, then we can transpose the formula. That means we can move, that means we can move minus 5 to the left hand side because plus 5, right? So 2x is equal to 5 positive. So x is equal to 2.5. So that means another coordinates that we can use is when x is 2.5, y is equal to 0. So I jot down here. Okay. So let's try to jot down the points now. Okay. 0, negative 5. Where is 0, negative 5? When x is 0, okay, y is negative 5. Here, this point. All right. This is the point. When x is 0, y is negative 5. So I use different color maybe. Okay, I try to use different points. Maybe I use lighter color, maybe green. All right, green color. Okay, I choose light green. So this is the first point that we can put. All right. So second point is when x is 2.5, y is 0. X is 2.5, y is equal to 0. Where is the point? 2.5, y is equal to 0 here. When x is 2.5, y is equal to 0, this point. Okay. So after we have managed to identify these 2 points, we can draw a straight line by combining these 2 points together. Okay. Can we try to draw the line beyond these 2 points? Yes, you can. Okay. You can try to draw a straight line beyond these 2 points, in fact. Okay. You can draw as long as possible. This one is too long already, so I think I just cut a little because otherwise it will be too long, right? So something like this. As long as this line, the red line, is passing through these 2 green lines and these 2 green points, and then it's fine, right? So the red line that you draw now, it can be longer, can be longer as long as this red line is passing through these 2 green points, which are these, right? Then lastly, you give a name for this line. The name is called as y equals 2x minus 5. Okay, so give a name and write down in the Cartesian plan as well. Okay. Okay. Now, second equation is y equals negative 2x plus 2. Okay. So also the same, you need at least 2 points. Okay, in order to draw this straight line. So as usual, we just use x equal to 0. When x is equal to 0, that means this whole part, is equal to 0. So y is equal to 2 positive. Okay, we substitute x equal to 0 into the x. So this part is 0. So as a result, y is equal to 2 positive. Okay, so that means one of the coordinates that will be passed through by this equation is 0, 2. 0, 2. Okay. Then second point is we are trying to let the y equals 0. Okay, let the y equals 0. So when the y equals 0, that means on the left hand side here, this part will be equal to 0. Now we have to transpose the formula so that we can get the x. Okay, so we can move minus 2x to the left hand side, becomes plus 2x. Okay, then move this 2 coefficient to the right hand side, becomes divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. So that means the second point coordinate is 1, 0. 1, 0 is the second point. Okay, so once we have these 2 points, we can jot down these points in our graph paper now. All right, 0, 2, where is 0, 2? Oh, here, this point, 0, 2. When x is 0, y is equal to 2. The second point is when x is 1, y is 0, this point. All right, and then you can use a straight line, a straight line to combine these 2 points. Okay, and the line that you draw can be longer than or beyond than this point. All right, can be beyond than this point, as long as it's passing through these 2 points. Okay. You can draw it longer, as long as it's passing through these 2 yellow points. Okay. Then give a name. We have to give a name for this equation. Okay, for this line. So the name of this equation is y equals negative 2x plus 2. So you put this name inside the graph paper. Okay. So done. 2 points here. So far so good. Okay,
Sir.
So, yes.
For the unknown, does it always have to be 0, or we can put other numbers?
You can put other numbers. Yes. Yeah, good question. You can choose other numbers also can. Yeah, you can choose other numbers. Okay, as long as you have 2 points. As long as 2 points. But in my opinion, I choose when x is equal to 0 and also y equal to 0. Then you can, because these 2 points, one is passing through the x-axis and another one is passing through the y-axis. Like this point is passing through the y-axis, this one is passing through the x-axis. Then then you can have longer. Okay, you can have longer line. Okay. That's the reason why I choose 0, 0 point. If you simply just choose 2 points, sometimes your line will be very short. The reason I choose this is because I know that this point will pass through the y-axis, and this point will pass through the x-axis. But if you choose other points, also okay. Okay, also acceptable. Any other questions besides that? So far so good, huh? Okay, right. The third example is about the same thing, so I'm going to skip. You can just read through by yourself. All right. Okay, next. Okay. Yeah. So before we go to the next section, you may find that okay, these two lines are intersect at this point, right? Intersect at this point. That means meet. Okay, this line, this red line, and also this red line, meet at this point. Okay. So if you use the graph, actually you can identify the intersection point between these two lines, right? The intersection point. Okay, because slightly not so accurate. That is the problem for if we just draw it manually. That's the problem unless we use Excel. Okay. Okay, so you may find that actually these two lines are intersect at this point. Okay, so we call this point as the it can be called as the equilibrium point, okay, or the meeting point, okay, here, okay, these two lines meeting here. So that means at this point, these two equations will have the same x and y value, okay, at this point, which is here, the x and y value for both equations will be the same. That's the meaning, okay, will be the same. So in order to identify this coordinate, we can use two methods. We can use graph, okay, we can also use mathematical equation in order to solve the problem. There are two methods. So now I'm glad to go to show you as well how to identify the intersection point. Okay, intersection point between two straight lines. Okay, identify the x and y value. I think I like to use the equation first. All right, I try to use the equation first. Okay, let's say this. Right. So I use the same equation. Y is equal to 2x minus 5 and y is equal to negative 2x plus 3. Okay, we use the same equation as just now we did to draw the equation, right? So let us try to use mathematical method, try to identify what is the x and y value when these two lines meet each other, okay, or intersect each other. What is the value of x and y? Okay. So at this point, we call it the intersection point. Okay. This equation will be equal to this equation. So that means that the 2x minus 5 will be equal to negative 2x plus 3. So I put here. Okay. I put here. I write down first. Okay. So next is we have to transpose the formula so that all the x will be on the left hand side. Okay. And then all the numbers will be on the right hand side. Okay. So what can we do is we move this minus 2x to the left, becomes plus 2x. And this minus 5 move to the right hand side, becomes plus 5. Okay. Then on the left, we try to accumulate all the x values. Okay. We try to group all the same terms together because it's involving plus and minus activity. So that means we have to group all the similar terms in one house or in one term. All right. So 2x plus 2x is equal to 4x. 2 apple plus 2 apple, 4 apples. On the right, we have two numbers, 3 and 5. Sum up together, we get 8. Okay. Next step is to move the 4 from the left to the right becomes divide. So 8 divided by 5 will get 2 positive. Okay, so that means that the x value is equal to 2 when these two lines meeting each other. The x value is equal to 2. All right, so if these two lines will have the same x value at the meeting point, which is 2 positive. That's the meaning. Okay. Okay, now we want to get the y value. Y value, what is the y value? All right. So what you can do is you can substitute x equal to 2 to any of the y equation here. You can substitute to here or to here, either one you choose. All right. So I'll choose this one because the coefficient of x is a positive number, so it's more easier. Okay. We try to minimize the negative operations. Okay. So I'll choose the first equation. Right. So if I choose the first equation, I'll substitute the 2 inside the x variable. Okay, so 2 multiplied 2 is 4. Minus 5, you get negative 1. So that means we can conclude that the intersection point is 2, negative 1. Okay, so these two lines will have similar x and y value at the intersection point, which is 2, negative 1. Okay, so if you use the graph, also very easy. You can just go to the intersection point between these two lines and then check the coordinates. So this is the point. So at this point, x is 2 and y is negative 1. Okay. Any question on this? One example may be not enough. Okay, let's try one more example. Okay, this one. Okay, let's say now the two equations are y equals x plus 4. Another equation is y equals 6 minus 1. So we may find that the power value for both x are power 1 only. So that means these two equations are linear equation. That means these two are straight lines. Okay, straight lines. Okay, so now you're asked to identify the intersection point. That means the coordinates between these two lines. What are the x and y value? Okay, so as usual, we just write down at the intersection point. This equation always equal to this equation. Okay, so that means x plus 4 is equal to 6 minus x. Okay, then the next step is to move all the x variables to the left and all the numbers to the right. Okay, so if that's the case, we move minus x to the left becomes plus x. This plus 4 move to the right hand side becomes minus 4. Then we simplify. Apple plus apple. 1 apple plus 1 apple, 2 apples. Right. On the right hand side, we have 6 minus 4, so you get 2 positive. Then move these two coefficient of x, power 1, 2, move to the right hand side becomes divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. Okay, so x is equal to 1 at the intersection point. X is equal to 1. So that means these two equations will share the same x value at the intersection point. Okay, so now we want to get the y value. So what can we do is we substitute x equal to 1 into either this equation or this equation in order to get the y. Okay, I'll choose this one because all of the numbers are positive. So I choose the first equation. Okay. Okay, so y is equal to 1 plus 4. 1 is because x is equal to 1 for this question. Okay, for this question. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 5. So we can conclude the intersection point is 1, 5, which is here. Okay. So far, so good. Okay, I would suggest you to use the mathematical method in order to identify the intersection point. Okay. Intersection point means the x and y values. Faster instead of using graph. In fact, we already learned this in our previous chapter, the algebra last time. Okay. Next, okay, there are some notes, important notes. Just I want to share with you. If the two lines have the same gradient, if the two lines have the same slope, that means that these two lines will not meet each other. If these two lines are parallel, same slope, that means it will be parallel. So that means these two lines will never meet each other. Okay, if the slope for both lines are the same, like this one, y is equal to 2x minus 5, and another one is y equals 2x plus 3. So these two lines have the same gradient. So that means these two lines will never meet each other. In future, will never meet each other. Okay, another concept is, okay, in fact, right, like this one, this equation, 2y equals 4x minus 10 can be simplified again. If you draw this line and with this line, in fact, it's the same. They are the same thing. Because this equation can be divided by 2 for each term. In order to simplify, it becomes y equals 2x minus 5. So it's better for us to simplify the equation first before we draw any line on the graph paper. Okay. Anyway, this equation with positive slope is 2, so it's outward sloping. This one also outward sloping as well. Okay, next. What is the question now? Okay, so just now we did study how to identify the intersection point between two linear lines. So now we want to apply this concept into a business scenario. Okay, into business scenario, and we call this as break-even analysis. That will be the last part for today. Last part for today. Okay, let us check. Before we want to apply, we need to understand some of the key concepts that we usually use in business. Okay, we have to understand some of the key terms. Okay. So what is the meaning of break-even? Break-even means no profit and no loss when running a business. Okay, there is no profit and no loss when running a business, and then this is called as break-even. Okay, so that means whatever received by the business is equal to whatever spent by the business or company. Okay, so that means the income is exactly equal to the expenses. Okay, the total income of an organization is exactly equal to the total expenses of an organization. Okay, so income here is referred to the revenue. All of the revenue received by a business is called as income. Okay, it can be referred to the sales, okay, that we receive from customer. So these are income or revenue. So how about expenses? Expenses are all the costs occur in running a business. So this cost can be the manufacturing costs, okay, shipping or delivery costs, advertising costs. These are all expenses. Okay, so if the revenue is equal to the cost, then that means the company or the business is achieving break-even point. Okay, break-even. That means there is no profit and no loss. Okay, so at the break-even point, we can conclude the income, the total income, is exactly equal to the total expenses. Okay, the total income is exactly equal to the total expenses or total cost. Okay, so if I draw the line, I just simply use the straight line, because in reality, the revenue curve and also the total cost may not be straight line. But in order to simplify, I can try to draw the line. Okay, so let's say the red color is the total cost, and the blue line is the total revenue, total income. All right, so if these two lines intersect at this point, we call this as the break-even point. So at this point, the level of production will help the company to achieve break-even. Okay, so if this organization is able to produce the product at this level and manage to sell at this level, which is N, let's say N. Okay, I give a term N. As long as it's able to sell the product at the N level, then the company is able to achieve break-even. That means no profit and no loss. If the company is able to sell more than the N value, okay, beyond this line, more than that, you may find that the income value will be more than the total cost. So after N level of production, if the company managed to sell more, the company is able to have higher income, okay, and able to have more revenue, and you may find that the total cost will be below the revenue. So at this point, after N, the company is able to make a profit. After the N level of production, the company is able to make a profit. But if the company is produced less than N, the company is still making a loss. Why? Because the cost is higher than the revenue when the end level is lower. You may find that the cost is higher than revenue. So that means the company is making a loss when the company is selling less than n unit. Okay. So far so good. So these are some concepts, the key terms that you may need to learn in your accounting and also economics later on. Just want to introduce you some concept. Okay, so now is you may ask how to identify this revenue equation, the income equation, this blue color one. How to develop this equation? From where? Okay, it's like this. Okay, so the revenue or income is equal to selling price per unit multiply number of quantities sold. Okay, so S is referred to the selling price per subject, okay, per unit, and then multiply with number of quantities sold by the organization. So it's S multiply N. Then you'll get the equation of income. Okay, so this blue line, actually is derived from there. It's selling price multiply the quantity sold. Okay, quantity sold. So you'll get the revenue or the income equation. Okay, how about cost? Okay. When running a business, generally there are two costs occurs. Okay, there are two costs. There are two types of costs occur. Yeah? The first one is the fixed cost. Okay, the second one is the variable cost. Fixed cost is referred to the cost will remain the same no matter how many quantity or units being sold out. The cost will be the same, and we call this as a fixed cost. Okay, so fixed costs are like machine, the big machine. No matter okay, you produce either 0 product, okay, or 1 product, 2 product, or 10,000 product, right? The machine is still there. Okay, it's still the same machine. So the machine is still incur the same cost, fixed cost. Okay, for big machine, big machine to produce, let's say Coca-Cola, let's say. We only buy new machine again when we manage to produce beyond that, maybe million, thousand of Coca-Cola bottles. Then we can buy another machine again, but it's still considered as fixed cost. Okay, it's a fixed cost. Okay. Any other examples of fixed costs? Fixed costs are like rental as well. Rental, okay, to pay for the building, to keep for store and all these are also fixed costs. Okay. And also the salary for the owner, for the entrepreneur. Okay, fixed salary usually. So it's also considered as fixed cost. Okay, so this one is fixed already. No matter how many production produced, the fixed cost is always the same. So if I draw the line, you may find that the fixed cost is a horizontal line. Here, it's a horizontal line, even though there is no unit of production. So at this point, no unit production, you may find that the fixed cost is still occur. Okay, still happen, even though there is no unit of production. So fixed cost is usually a straight line. Okay? It's a straight line. Okay, how about variable cost? The second cost. Variable cost will increase when the quantity of production increasing. Okay, so the variable cost will increase when N increasing. Okay, which is this part. Okay, so the total variable cost is equal to variable cost per unit multiply number of quantity sold. Okay, variable cost per unit multiply quantity sold, then you'll get the total fixed cost. A total variable cost. So total variable cost, how does the line looks like? Okay, it's like this here. So the total variable cost is here. Okay, total variable cost is equal to 0 when there is no unit of production. Okay, variable cost can be in terms of the electricity, utility, water, and some resources or raw materials. Okay, raw materials are considered as variable cost. Like for instance, if you want to produce Coca-Cola, so that means you need to have water, sugar, syrup, coloring. All these are considered as variable costs. Okay. So variable cost is also outward sloping. When the unit production increasing, the variable cost will also increase. So this purple line is the variable cost line. This one. All right. So if we combine the variable cost and fixed cost, then we'll get the total cost. Okay. If we combine the variable cost and fixed cost, we'll get a total cost. So if I draw the line, the total cost is parallel with the variable cost. Parallel means same slot, okay, same slot with the variable cost, but it's always higher than variable cost. Why? Because the difference between the total cost and variable cost and total cost is the fixed cost. So in fact, the difference, okay, between, let me see whether I have, here I have, yes. The difference between the variable cost and the fixed cost actually is referred to the, okay, the fixed cost, okay. The difference between total cost and the variable cost is the fixed cost. So this distance actually is the same as this distance. Okay. Same distance. Okay. So this is the fixed cost, right? So the difference between total cost and total variable cost is the fixed cost. Okay. Here. All right. So in short, that means the total cost is equal to variable cost, the total variable cost plus the fixed cost. Okay. Total variable cost plus the fixed cost. Then we'll get the total cost. So you may find that, interestingly, you may find that actually the total cost, the formula is quite similar to the format of the linear equation that we learned just now, right? Y is equal to ms plus c, whereby this m is referred to the slot, right? But it's also referred to the variable cost per unit. Interesting, right? And this c actually is referred to the fixed cost. Similar to the fixed cost impact. Okay. So that means we can try to apply the linear equation formula in order to do further analysis on the break-even analysis. Okay, so let's try one question. I would like to, actually, I like to do this one first. All right, this one, example 7. All right, this one. Okay, so let us analyze the question. I'll do question 1, 2, and then part 5. I'll go to part 5 directly. 1, 2, and then go to part 5. Okay, because I think I better focus on the mathematical formula first before we try to apply by using the graphical method. Okay, so let us analyze the question together. A company manufactures widgets that it sells for $270 each. So this is the selling price per unit. Okay, selling price per unit. So this is the S. S is given already. All right, so I put here given S. Okay, second sentence. The cost to manufacture each widget is 160. So this is the variable cost per unit. Okay, variable cost per unit. And the company has weekly overheads of 3,300. So this is the fixed cost. No matter how many units produced, the fixed cost already occur. Okay, so I put here 3300 as the fixed cost. This is the variable cost per unit for one unit only. Okay, part 1. You are asked to determine the income equation. That means develop the income equation. All right. So you can say that income is equal to selling price per unit multiply quantity. Okay, just put n. We don't know how many quantity, so just put n. Okay, this part okay. Apply the formula that we already learned just now. All right. Part 2. Okay, determine the expense equation. That means the cost equation. You are asked to develop the total cost equation. So we know that the total cost is formed by total variable cost and fixed cost. So total variable cost is 160 multiplied n plus the fixed cost 3,300. So this is the equation that we can form for total cost. So far so good? Okay, okay, now I'd like to move to part 5 first. Find the weekly break-even point values. That means we need, okay, you're asked to identify the break-even point between the income and cost. Okay, break-even point, that means how we also can identify the level of break-even that the company should produce in order to cover the cost. There'll be no profit and no loss. Okay, so how to do? Okay, how to do the calculation? Okay, you can set in this way. You can set at the break-even point. This is for part 5, break-even point. Income is equal to cost. Okay, let me get something. Hold on. Then you can write down the formula. Okay, I is equal to cost. So I just now we already formed the equation in part 1, right? I is equal to 9n. If you refer to your equation that you formed, is that 9n? I is equal to 270n, huh? Okay. I is equal to 270n. Okay, this one, 270n. And the C is part 2 we already formed the equation, 160n plus 3,300. So we substitute this equation into here. Okay, here. Okay, so next is, okay, we need to get the n value, right? So in order to need to get n value, we need to group all the n variables in one island, and then the numbers in another island on the right hand side. Okay, so what can we do is we can move 160n to the left, becomes minus. Okay, so you'll get 110n. Then we move 110 to the right hand side, becomes divide. So the n is equal to 30. So what's the meaning n equal to 30? That means that in order to cover the cost, the minimum level of production is 30. Okay, the company must able to produce and sell at least 30 units in order to get break even. Okay, in order to cover the total cost and start to get revenue, right? Okay, so once you get the n value, then you can calculate the I or the C. It's better to use I because it's shorter. The formula is shorter, so better use I. So once we get the n value 30, we substitute n value into the equation of I. Okay, so which is 270 multiplied 30. Simplify, you get 8100. Okay, so that means that when the company is able to produce and sell 30 units, the total income is 8,100. Total income is equal to 8,100. Total cost is also 8,100. And the profit is 0. Okay, no profit. Total income is 8,100. The cost is also 8,100. And we can say that the break-even point is 30, 8,100. Okay, so this is the break-even point. So far, so good. This is using the mathematical method to identify the break-even point. So far, okay? Okay, I'd like to go for example 8 first, showing you how to use the mathematical equation to identify the break-even point before we use the graphical method. Okay, so this question is the perfect purse company manufactures a particular ladies purse that has a variable cost of $4 per purse. That means this is the variable cost per unit. Okay, $4 is the variable cost per unit to produce the purse. With annual fixed cost of 12,000. So this is the fixed cost. Okay, so no matter how many units being produced and sold out, the fixed cost is always the same. So we can put here, okay, fixed cost. Okay, next sentence. And the selling price is $9 per purse. That means this is the S. All right, so I put here. Okay, first equation. Okay, first question is determine the income equation. That means you are asked to form income equation. So we know that I is equal to S multiplied N, right? I equals S multiplied N. So S is 9, substitute to here. N is number of quantity sold. We don't know how many, so you just put N. Okay. Okay, part 2. Determine the expense equation. That means the cost equation. It's referred to the cost. So we know that there are two costs involved, variable cost and also the fixed cost. So the formula will be using variable cost per unit multiplied N plus the total fixed cost. Okay, so already done. Part 2. Okay, now I'll move on to part 5 first. Part 5. Determine the annual production required by the company to get break even. That means we want to identify what is the break-even point, so that there is no loss and no profit. Okay, but just manage to cover the cost only. So how to use the mathematical method in order to solve the problem? What can you do is you can conclude that at the break-even point, the I is always equal to the C. I is always equal to the C. So we can conclude 9N is equal to 4N plus 12,000. So I try to copy this equation into here. Okay, we can conclude total income is equal to total cost at the break-even point. So far, okay. Now the next step is to move all of the N variables to the left-hand side, okay, and all the numbers on the right-hand side. So 9N minus 4N is 5N. Then move 5 to the right, becomes 35. So N is equal to 2,400. Okay, so that means in order to get break-even, there is no profit and no loss. The company must produce at least 2,400 purses, okay, and able to sell to the market as well. Produce and sell, right, to the market with at least 2,400 units, so that can get break-even. Okay, so once you get the N value, you should be able to get the income, which is the Y value, the Y coordinates value. All right, so we substitute 2,400 into the N here. Okay, so 9 multiplied 2,400, you'll get 21,600. Okay, so what's the meaning? That is when the company is able to sell 2,400 units of purses, okay, then the income for this organization will be $216,000. Okay, and we can conclude also break-even point is this coordinates, this one. Okay, so you can use the mathematical method to solve the problem. Okay, then how about graphical method? Graphical method will be slightly troublesome. That means we need to draw the income line and also the cost line. Okay, then identify the intersection point. Okay, so let us try. Okay, I'll go back to example 7. Okay, so in order to identify the intersection point, we need to build a table in order to calculate all the coordinates that will be passed through by the I and also the C. Okay, so we'll start with I first, I calculation. Okay, but we need to have at least about 2 to 3 points, at least 2 points. Okay, but because usually the income value will be very big, so it probably can, in this case, we can have 3 points. Okay, we try to get 3 points. The first point is we always use N equal to 0 as the first point. Okay, second point is using this formula. 2 is the constant number, multiply with the fixed cost divided by the selling price per unit. Okay, so it's about 24, but because if we use 24.44, it's very hard for us to jot down the point also. So we try to round the number into whole number is equal to about 25. Okay, about 25. So this one can be used as a second point for X. Okay, the second X value when we want to draw the income and also the cost equation. Okay, how about third point? Third point is we can use 4 as the constant number, multiply with fixed cost, and then divided by the selling price. So you get 48.89. Okay, but we try to round the number into integer number, so it can round to maybe 50. Okay, round to 50. Better, that'll be more easy for you to do the calculation. So this number is just a rough number for you to identify the X only. Right? So we can have these 3 X values. 0, 25, and 50. Okay. Then the next step is to identify the I when the X is equal to 0. So when X is equal to, when the N is equal to 0, so the I will be 270 multiplied 0. So you get 0. Okay. So the first coordinate is 0, 0 for the income equation. Okay. How about second coordinate? When N is 25, the I is 6750. So this will be the second coordinate. Third point for the income is when X is 50, Y will be equal to this number. Okay. Okay. Then we should also try to jot down or determine the point for the cost equation as well. Cost equation. Okay. So the first point also N is equal to 0, then C is equal to 3300. Right. And the second point is when x is 25, n is 25, yeah? So y will be equal to 7300. And this is the top point. So once we have these 3 points, then we can start to jot down this point in the graph paper. Okay. So if you jot down, you may find that, right? The income equation is here, this blue line, yeah? This is the income equation. And the cost equation is this one, right? You can try to draw the line longer, it's okay, yeah? Nothing wrong. You can try to extend, even though you already have 3 points, you can try to extend also your line longer, okay, as long as it's a straight line, right? Okay, so now is you have to identify the intersection point. Where is the break-even point, or we call it the intersection point between I and C here, yeah, this point. This is the point, all right? All right, so this is the point, yeah? So at this point, what is the I value? The n is equal to, n is 30, okay? The s value is equal to 30. And the income or expenses value is equal to about 8,000. Yeah, about 8,000 if I draw the graph, it's about 8,000. But if you use mathematical equation, is equal to 8,100. That's why it's better to use mathematical equation to solve the problem instead of using graph, because sometimes the graph it can be not so accurate. Okay, I'm not really encourage students to use graph to draw to identify the break-even point. Yeah? Better use the equation, okay? And it's also faster, more practical as well. Huh? Okay, so for example, number 8 also the same. If you want to use the graph to identify the break-even point, that means you need to jot down at least 3 points, 3 coordinates for income equation and also the cost equation. Okay. Okay, so we're already done for this chapter. And you should be able to do the exercises for this chapter. Okay, so the tutorial question I already posted on the canvas. Okay. So these are the questions. I think for quite a number of questions, you may need to use this diagram we call as the Cartesian plan to draw. So maybe you can copy and paste a lot of copies so that you can use this one to draw the straight lines. Okay? And you can use this one. You can copy and paste more. Copy and yeah, copy more right? So that you can draw. I'll copy more so that you can draw. Just draw here, straightforward. Okay. All right. So any questions so far on this chapter? Linear equation. Okay. So after this chapter, we'll proceed to the financial mathematics. Okay. And lastly is metrics. Then we finish the syllabus. Done. Very fast. This week is already week number 5. Week 5. Our last study, we call it the class we'll try to finish by week 8. Okay, week 8 we can finish, so that week 9 you can do your own revision, and then week 10 we have final exam, final assessment. Very fast. Anyway, this chapter will be covered in your test 2 Test 2. So any question that I would like to ask for linear equation, for both mathematical method and also the graphical method. So far so good, It can be new for you, the break-even analysis can be new for all of you, right? I think you never studied this before, even though maybe you're from the science art stream also. Have you ever studied this before in your school, like this one? The fixed cost, variable cost. I think already, right? When you took your, I think, commerce subject, right? Perdagangan in form 3. Maybe some of you already studied before. Okay, all right. Okay, if not other question, right? Then how about your test one preparation? So far, okay, so far so good. Your test one. Online test one. 2 chapters, statistics and probability. So far, okay? Statistics and probability. Any question they would like to ask from the tutorial questions on statistics and probability?
No, sir.
Okay, no, okay, all right. Then, if there's case, I'll see you on Friday lah. Friday actually, so Friday is the last chance for you to ask question on your test one, right? Because our test one will be on Monday, yeah, Monday 10 o'clock to 11. So Friday you still can have chance to ask questions, okay? If you have any question that you would like to ask from the tutorial, you still can. Or maybe we can do a revision, We can do a revision. I'll do a summary with all of you again on Friday, right? Let me see any questions from the chat. No, sir. Okay. And Changi also. Okay, say yes. Okay, right. Have you started doing revision? So far, okay, No news. We have, we have quite full, quite full number of students coming today, joining us. But I think Rolla is not here. Rolla, let me see. Maybe it's at the back. Yeah, Rolla is not here. Okay, if no question, then I'll see you on Friday. Friday, probably we can do some revision again in order to prepare for your test one. Especially the probability. I think some students still not really familiar, right? Probability chapter. No other question. Then we just call a day. We just finished earlier. All right. So I'll stop recording now.